Welcome to Pitm's Video. This is my first foray in the video. Look, over the years I have done a ton of audio content with podcasts and whatnot. Things like Pitm's podcast, which focused on MTG, all the way to Fan of Astronomy, which, you guessed it, focuses on astronomy. But this is really my first dive into video, so we'll see how this goes. I'm super excited, yay! Look, I know for a fact in a year or two I'm going to look back on this and be like, wow, that was horrible. So try not to take it too hard on me. As for the channel itself, I know this channel is going to cover everything over time and not be super focused. I have a lot of interests out there, and quite frankly, I'd like to go over all of them. But for now, we're going to focus on things like video games and anime. Like, I really like retro games. Shocker, I know. So I think I'm going to start by actually reviewing one of those retro games, but damn it, it has to be just the right one. I mean, this is my first video, the one that's going to bring me out and into the world of YouTube. It just can't be dog shit. I mean, I could do something like maybe Zelda. Well, I mean, I'd probably be better off saving that for when I actually am better at making these videos. I'd hate to do a bad job doing that game. And then there's things like Castlevania. I mean, I truly love Castlevania. But again, that's just not good as a starting point. It's too good of a game. So I'm stuck in this spot where I have to find the game that's not dog shit, but it's not one of the all-time classics. And you just get all stressed out and finally you go, screw it, we're going to do the Goonies 2. So the Goonies 2 is a great game. I love it, but it's underrated. Now, is this one of the all-time classics? Probably not. But it's not a bad game. It's actually far from it. In many ways, this game is way ahead of its time. I mean, it took chances with game elements we'd see for years to come. Things like backtracking, having a large play area, using maps, and having to solve puzzles. I mean, in many ways, this was really one of the very first Metroidvanias as we know them today. Now, don't get me wrong. All that being said, they made a ton of mistakes. It just wasn't ironed out yet on how to do this type of game. I mean, truthfully, I could argue that it wasn't perfected until Castlevania Symphony of the Night some 10 years later. So if you look at it under that light, what Konami did in 1987 was pretty damn impressive. This game just gets overlooked because of other games that was released that year. And some of those other games were truly great. We're talking Contra, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Zelda 2. I mean, these are all-time classics. In a year that maybe was a Nintendo's down year, we might be talking a lot better about the Goonies 2, but it came out around stiff competition. And I have no clue why my mom got me and my brother this game for Christmas that year amongst the other games that she got us, but she did. And we overlooked it just like everybody else did. I mean, we was playing Wizards and Warriors and Metal Gear, not the frickin' Goonies. I mean, we tried it out like any kid would. You know, you pop it in, you play it for a few minutes, and then you throw it in the corner and never touch it again. And truthfully, it wasn't until a few years later when I was grounded to my room of all things. Look, I was a rotten kid. Okay, let's just deal with it and move on. Anyway, by this time, my parents had gotten the Nintendo the hell out of the living room so they could watch TV. And they got me this small color TV and put it in my bedroom. And well, when I got grounded, they would do this weird thing. I don't know if it was out of laziness and they didn't want to take the TV and the Nintendo out, but they would take out the good games. You know, things like Mario Brothers, Mega Man, and Metroid. Those would just kind of disappear, but I played those a lot. And part of me thinks that they made me play these bad games because they spent money on it. So I'd be left with things like Top Gun, Castlevania 2, The Goonies. And at this point, I had already figured out Simon's Quest after a previous grounding for a week. That's a story for another time. So with this grounding, I decided to pick up the Goonies. So let's start with the good. The platforming areas are vibrant. They just pop off the screen. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. The music, as you can hear in the background throughout this, actually excellent. And the controls, and this is not a joke, I swear to God, they are some of the most responsive and best controls you are going to find on the NES. Now the bad. Well, the map was years behind the standard. I mean, it was just confusing. It had this whole front and back thing going on. I mean, it just did not help. Ultimately, it was just easier to remember what doors to go in and go out. Oh, And inside of these doors, that's where this game really breaks down. You have to pay attention to what way you are facing as you enter. Sometimes going back will exit the way you came in, and other times it'll go out another door, or it'll just yell at you with this infuriatingly screeching noise. And when you're in these rooms, there's stuff to gather. And a lot of these things are hidden. So there's different ways to find these hidden things, whether it's a ladder hole or a door or an item. I mean, you have to continually check. You can use glasses. That'll help you see invisible things because, I don't know, things make sense, I guess. And you can also hit things. Now, they give you two things to hit with, your hand and a hammer. And you have to hit everything, including this lady. You just walk into the room, you recite the pimp's prayer.
Lord, please pray for the soul of this bitch and guide my pimp hand and make it strong, Lord, so that she might learn our hole's place. Amen.
Then you pimp slap her across her jaw like 5 times and she'll give you your shit. Then you gotta smack her one more time just so she knows who daddy is. Okay, maybe I just do this, but you can't have them hoes stepping out of line. So the game's story is you play as Mikey, and you gotta run through houses, caves, icy areas, a broken bridge, and even dive underwater to save the Goonies and a mermaid. See, the Fratellis kidnap them, and they're gonna try to stop you from rescuing them at any cost. Along with the Fratellis, you're gonna have to fight snakes, walruses, a bunch of birds, and other crap. Now understand, this is a kid, so his main weapon's a yo-yo. I'll repeat that, his main weapon is a yo-yo. Look, I know it sounds really stupid, but it actually plays really well. You can also get a slingshot fairly early on, though. Oh, and mind you, the Fratelli's are going to use guns and bow and arrows. You know, like actual deadly weapons. So, yeah, we'll see how that works out. Now, if this was real life, you'd be better off throwing down a pound of gabagool than swinging a yo-yo or shooting a slingshot at an armed Italian. By the by, if you ever wondered what gabagool is, it's what us Sicilians in the States call capicola, because that makes sense. Look, The Sopranos never really explained that part. You can also get a boomerang. The boomerang is awesome, but this pipe wrench face son of a... No, not Ma Fratelli. This pipe wrench face thing. It'll steal it from you, so don't get used to having it. And then sticking with the kid-friendly weaponry, they give you a goddamn harpoon gun. Yep, a spear with a large barb on it that can only come out the opposite way that it goes in. It's being propelled with force at your unwitting enemies. A gun would have been so much cleaner, but I'll digress. You only use this underwater, so I guess they just kind of figure it's all good. Oh, and strangely, the underwater areas don't suck like in most games. The controls are actually that good. You also can get a Molotov cocktail and bombs as your sub-weapons. Now, honestly, I have no clue why the main weapons are so kid-friendly. Ultimately, look, the Goonies 2 is probably low top 50 game, like in the 48, 49, 50 range. And it's rather cheap for the NES. I'd recommend this to anyone looking for something to play that they may not have really given a chance before. Yes, this game has flaws, but if you can look past them, it's actually worth giving a shot. On a scale of gherkin to a pickle, we got a nice juicy cucumber as far as NES games go. The platforming areas are the majority of the game, and those are just outstanding. If you can play this anywhere, I'd do it. It only takes a couple of hours to beat if you've never played it before, just as long as you got a guide. So it's not very long. In fact, the world record time is something like 15 minutes, so it won't eat up your whole day, and it's worth giving a try. So how'd I do? Let me know down in the comments. This is my first ever video, and I'm still learning the process. If you think I did okay, do me a favor and, hit that like button. And I know from the analytics that none of you watching this for the first time are subscribed, so please hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you'd like to see more of this. I figured I'd start out by releasing 1, maybe 2 videos a week, and I really appreciate you all coming along this journey with me. So for now, have a good one, and go. No, seriously, go. The video's over.